I take it news of my swine flu has got out. Everyone's moved back one row. So this is my SE Linux for sysadmins talk, and if you found my previous talk really disappointingly non-technical, then don't get your hopes up. I guess I say that partly because, knowing my material, I'm not actually going into the full details of how SE Linux works and writing policy, all that sort of thing. I'd cover that a bit. But I guess the other side of that is that it's actually not rocket science either. Getting SE Linux to work for a sysadmin is probably the case of you need to know a bit more how it works, but otherwise get it to cooperate with you. So the previous talk was sort of how to get. Oh no. Let's see if I can get it.
Tell us everything about SE.
Disappointingly, no. So the previous talk was sort of how to get you to work with SE Linux, and this is how to get SE Linux to work with you. So I've got a couple of principles, and it's sort of in the same format as the previous talk. I'm basing them on a few more real-world examples, the things that I've come across when I've been wrestling with it. So, as an example, if you're wanting to share home directories through NFS, and I have had this happen to me back in the day when I was running on a Ultra Spark 5, and it was faster than using the local disk. That's how awesome the Spark 5 was. So we have, on the server, we have an export of home. On the client, we've got it mounted, written up in FS tab, and we go mount home, permission denied. Okay, curse. So the first question we really have to ask ourselves is this actually an SE Linux problem? Has SE Linux caused this? It could be any number of things. It could be home has the wrong permissions, or you're in the wrong network or something like that. So this is where checking the audit log is a really good thing to do. I think I obviously wrote that out in a bit more detail. So if it is an SE Linux problem, then as I covered with the SE Linux booleans, if you look for home, we see there's this useful use NFS home DIRs at the bottom that's off currently, and we want to turn it on. And so we use the -p flag so that we remember that over a reboot. And there's your real world example using booleans. And so the reason this is sort of getting SE Linux to work for you is because as long as you understand that there's booleans that are going to make your life a lot easier, then that's a really good way to start. Another sort of side observation is if you happen to be sharing home directories out of /temp/ underneath /sudo home, then you may not encounter SE Linux permissions, but you will encounter a whole bunch of other problems that may also be caused by Linux, but turning that flag on won't help you at that point. So knowing that you're supposed to share home out of /home is probably useful. If you're wanting to share home directories out of Samba, then you can do the same sort of thing. You've also got this other one, which I pointed out, and was I right? Yes. So it uses a sort of similar convention. Use Samba home DIRs is the permission you need on the client. Samba enable home DIRs is the permission you need on the server. And luckily there's the same kind of thing with Apache enable home DIRs on. You can see from the lack of underscore in home.ders that the people that write SE Linux policy are exactly the kind of slightly scatterbrained people we all are and can't follow naming conventions. But that's okay, that makes them, yes? A microphone? Shout, and I'll repeat it.
Seems like all this naming is pretty arcane. Is there a good source concentrated in one place to index the stuff, or to go from, if you're trying to work with Apache, here's the list of keys you need?
Yep. I'm really glad you asked that question because, and there is, and I'll cover it in a second, but that's one of the, so the basic point to make there is that as well as the policy stuff, there's been a whole lot of useful man pages put together, and I'll get to those in a second. So using booleans where possible to turn the feature that you want on is a really good thing. And if this talk is not technical enough, then feel free to ask lots of really technical questions and I'll see if I can answer them. So if we wanted to share data, the data directory through Samba, we run into a bit of a problem at this point because there's no Samba export data and Samba export all read write looks a little more inclusive than I'd really want to go with. So we go back to that idea that every file has a context, and there's an example, obviously I left that in. So that specifies the context that we want to use, and it's inherited like your regular directory permissions. If you've got if data has a particular type, then any directory or file that's created under that, unless there's a rule to say otherwise, that will get that particular type. So there's my make.dir data, and it has the default type. If I then change that to Samba share type, you can see that's now applied to data. Any file or directory that's written under there gets the Samba share type. Conveniently, Samba share type files are allowed to be shared by Samba. And this is where Andrew's question is answered. There's a whole heap of man pages. So man Samba underscore SE Linux will tell you the booleans that apply, the file contexts that apply, the various other things that you will need to do to work with SE Linux for FTP, named, rsync, HTTPD, NFS, etc. It's really quite comprehensive, and they're quite well written too, in my opinion. So a real world example number 3 is if you happen to be sharing data, the data directory through 2 different things. The real problem here is that, of course, files can only have one context. We've got Samba share T, but there is also an FTP T that is to be shared by FTP daemons. You can't apply the 2, so what do we do? There's this other boolean called allow FTP use CIFS, but unfortunately that allows the FTP daemon to share things that are on a Samba mount, not cooperate with one. So what do? We start by turning set-enforce off, and that works so that at this point that machine is running in permissive mode. And we can see that by saying SE Linux enabled and echo yes, and nothing comes out